I am Chris Vaughn, strategist, creator, disruptor, and catalyst in chief at In Her Company, where we harness the power of women to be their own solutions by working with them to gain clarity and structure their vision so they can have the impact they were created to. We do this by perhaps some surprising things, embracing positive disruption, journeys along the road less traveled, and providing unique perspectives like that expressed in our upcoming podcast series, Create, Drawing Business Lessons from Art. You will meet 8 remarkable women representing diverse artistic backgrounds. It was a pleasure to not only meet these women, but to learn from them and to learn more about their work. And it is work. Their expertise, willingness to experiment that actually led one to painting with fire and beeswax, and the care that they take to ensure that their time-honored crafts retain value and relevancy, even through modern practice. A wealth of insight is spread throughout the series. Yes, creative process. Yes, materials and technique. But also, prepare for the belief that you are not creative to be challenged, to harness flow state in any environment. And yes, we even went there by entering the discussion of digital art, AI, and human creativity. So grab a notebook. We look forward to your feedback. As always, use hashtags InHerCo and Create Series, and tag us at InHerCo_ on Instagram. You may also want to join our Substack at inhercompany.substack.com to be notified of each episode's release. Be sure to share each segment and that you yourself tune in. Now, let's get on with the series. Thank you for joining us for another episode of In Her Company. Today, our guest is Kelley Wilson, who views herself as a custodian of an age-old craft, just trying to make it cool again. Kelley learned the art of basket weaving in the summer after high school in the Adirondack Mountains, crafted her first pack basket while taking class, and was immediately hooked. In her words, these packs are meant to last a lifetime, to grow old with you. She insists that you love them and that you love them hard. Now, 20 years later, Kelley has expanded her business to include many sizes and styles of basket, each with their own unique shape. And after a trip to India in 2020, right before the pandemic, she began importing vintage quilts made of used and upcycled saris, seeing them as the perfect complement to pair with her baskets. And we agree. Kelley, welcome to In Her Company.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, why don't you give us a bit of background about how you came across weaving?
So the summer, like we said, the summer after high school, I went and I spent some time working for the Adirondack Mountain Club, which is where these baskets are native to. And I just, I had an opportunity to take a class, and I did. And it was something that I was just kind of naturally good at, and I loved it. So kind of became obsessed with just using these baskets for everything.
Oh, wow. Now, Adirondack Mountains, that's not too far away from Schroon Lake, right?
Lake is up there. There's so many lakes. It's like insanity up there. So it's the largest state park in the country. So there's a lot of space and there's a lot of lakes.
Oh, wow. I know the mountains, my family and I, and this was over a decade ago now, but remember going up the mountain. And when you said Adirondack, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that journey because when we were driving up, it's like, okay, now we're in the clouds. It's like, what? And you keep going, and it's like, now we see the tops of trees. It's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Adirondacks. We've been going up there since I was a little kid. And, I was just kind of this little hippie girl after high school, and I just wanted to go like live in the mountains. So I did. I lived in a tent.
Wow, that has to be an incredible experience, though.
It was really magical. I mean, I made some lifelong connections. The people that I made friends with up there are still some of my best friends in the whole world. So
Oh, wow. Now, how long was the class? Because were you living in a tent for the duration of the class?
the class was just one day, but I was
Oh,
working
okay.
for the Adirondack Mountain Club. And yeah, I lived in a canvas tent for the entire summer.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was really cool.
It sounds very much like. So why weaving? Why not anything else? Like we know that you fell in love with it, obviously, but I mean, there's so
Um,
many forms in the world.
I would say that I'm creative in a lot of different ways. I think that the reason why I love the baskets and the weaving is that it's something that you can use for the rest of your life. It's something that once you make it once, you're literally going to have a partner in this basket for the rest of your life. I started off just using them, for traveling, just putting laundry in. And then when I had kids, I would actually put my kids in the back to go hiking in Big Sur. And now that my kids are too big for the baskets to carry them around in, I carry their toys in there and blankets. So it's really been with me through all of my transitions in life.
That's amazing. Do you
Yes.
find it keeps your perspective like fresh and boosts your creativity?
It's like a moment of zen. I'm a pretty organized person. I like order. So when it comes to basket weaving, having those straight lines, just knowing where you're going, it really clears my head. I think that having this and like using water, using the reeds, it helps to keep you grounded. It clears your mind, forces you to be present. It's just a real gift.
Yeah, it sounds like I want to get back to your statement. I'm a custodian of an age-old craft, just trying to make it cool again.
Yeah.
That statement is filled with a deep respect for the art and its history. Can you share with us, and even just what you said, the reeds and the water? I don't think that when we see a basket being woven or in the store, even that the idea of reeds and water even comes to us. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your craft?
So, my understanding, this is what I was told, and this is my understanding, is that the early settlers that came to New York and Vermont and New Hampshire, all the Northeast, they were big on trapping. So they would use these baskets and go and collect their pelts from their traps. They used it for trading. So they're meant to be used. They are heavy duty packs. They are meant to be used hard. And so they had a very certain shape, which is kind of bulbous. And that was so that they could sit back to back in a canoe.
Oh,
So it would fit in the size of the boat. But, I don't have a canoe. I don't use a canoe anymore. Now I just make them so they're not so bulbous. I make them so that they're more user friendly, I feel. I feel like they look a little bit more hip with the shapes that I choose. So yeah, I'm just bringing this craft into the new ages and just trying to make it cool again, bring it back to the streets.
yeah. Adapting it to our uses in like modern day, however we would come across that. That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. So tell us what about your initial experience? Like, were there any biases or misconceptions or like even what was the greatest myth that you personally busted?
I would say that I think people think that, art is hard. I think that people think that being creative is hard.
Yeah.
And, it's not. All you have to do is create the space, create the time. I think that there's a misconception of you need to be like really, really prepared. You might need to be prepared for baskets, but to be creative, mostly if you look around, you have everything you need. You can just start. You can just start doing it. And I think the idea that art is hard, I think is a huge myth and it intimidates people. It stops them from wanting to try.
I agree. I agree. So, and coupled with that is the misconception on creativity that it either is only a select group of people are, that are truly creative, or that creativity itself is hard.
Right.
Because we
I
go
mean,
from
there's
these kids that express everything and, draw and gather leaves and make leaf and twig pies. And then we get older and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have
yeah.
a creative soul. That's not
Well,
true.
and that's the thing. Like, I didn't know I was good at baskets weaving until I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to want to weave baskets until I started. So it really is about creating the time and putting in the effort to just carve out that space for yourself.
To give yourself a chance.
Yeah, give yourself a chance. We're all creative. We're humans. We are for sure.
Yeah. I guess that. I was one of those people. I liked creative things. The end product. I took dance. I took classical piano for 8 years. And then as I got older, it was the same thing. I never thought I was creative. And then I started writing again. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I actually am. And I use that in my business, hence
Yeah.
that series to make everything that we do better.
And it's really sad to me that we forget that we have creativity because, we're pushed into this mindset of like having to make money, be successful, but you can bring this creativity with you. You don't have to abandon it. And I think mostly it's about making that time for yourself. It should be a part of everybody's self-care. We're all obsessed with self-care right now. Like maybe just sit down for 5 minutes and write whatever you need.
That's an interesting point too. Do you feel that tapping into one's creativity would alleviate some of the issues that we see today in mental health, or even just, simply stress, which isn't simple in itself, but because those things in themselves are layered. So do you
I
think that is a remedy?
110%. I think that stress comes from maybe, not clearing the head enough, not feeling really grounded in the moment. And when you do find those outlets for creativity and you do find those moments of zen where you're able to clear your head of, anything, I find myself not to be a very stressed person, so I can't speak from experience that it's helped me, but I can't help but think that maybe I'm not a stressed person because I have always had this outlet. It's just very important for me to be grounded in the moment. And I know that people around me that are stressed, they don't tend to do that for themselves.
So true. Nor do we
Yeah.
live in a society, unfortunately, that encourages you to do so.
I know it really is unfortunate. We're so obsessed with like getting what our neighbors have or getting to a certain space that we're obsessed with getting somewhere. And it's like, what about right here, right now? Like, where are we? Like, let's just focus on the fact that it's a cloudy day. It might snow tomorrow, but right now I love this lighting. It's just important to be in the moment, I think, and having a creative outlet, especially like pottery. Using your hands to create something, I think, is just such an amazing stress reliever.
Yeah, yeah, I'm guilty on that because that's one thing I'm working on being more intentional about this year is being in the present. I do take hikes, and when I go hiking, I lose track of time. But it's the experience, and it does
Yeah,
nourish you. It does feed your soul. So being
yeah.
more intentional rather than always thinking about the future because you miss out on your present. You
Right.
know?
And even with hiking, I mean, I know a lot of people that hike and even when they're hiking, they're like, I'm hiking, I got to get through this. I think it's really important to find the joy in it.
Yeah.
Like make sure that when you are intentional about going for a hike or about finding a creative outlet, that you do find the joy in it. And you remind yourself of that.
Yeah, because if you take that approach and that defeats the purpose of the hike anyway, it becomes another stressor. And then you don't do it because you no longer enjoy it.
I know.
So where do your creative ideas originate from?
My mind is always trying to be creative. So it's when I'm alone. So it's basically when my kids are not around. So it's so weird. I love the shower. I get
Really?
so many creative, inspirational ideas in the shower. And
Oh my God, so it's true. Your ideas come to you in the shower.
They do. They do. I'll get out of the shower. My husband's like, I'll be like, I figured it out. And I'll just spew to him. But the problem with the shower is you never have a pen and paper to be like, here's my ideas. These are excellent. It's really weird. I don't know why.
Wow, that's awesome. You should get you one of those boards. Your husband probably will be like, she's gone too far now, but they have those whiteboards that you can write in the shower. They're like with suction cups. Yeah.
Do that. I watch out. I'll start writing books.
Now that we know that's a valid point shower. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So let's set the scene. You have a new project. What I'd like you to do is to walk us through your creative process. Like you've been doing this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we become so good at something that we no longer think about process. But with you, you mentioned the material selection, but walk us through what that looks like for you. Material selection, any nuances or considerations?
I am a creative spirit, but I'm also a like 110% Virgo. So I'm really organized.
My husband is
So,
too.
so oh yeah, I love Virgos. They're like earthy, organized people. I just love it. So for me, it's usually just prepping for either a show or a market or a pop-up, or I'll have some special orders or something. It's basically just like making my list and checking the boxes. You know, I get the reads, and what I do is I pre-cut everything. So I make sure that I have one full basket, everything I need in a pile. And then here's another basket in a pile, and I'll lay it out and have 10 ready to make. And then I just start busting it out. I just pick a book, pick some music, and just start reading.
And so, what are your thoughts? Because so we have that you basically group everything. You start out with one basket and then you separate them into their own categories, and you say you pre-cut the reads and whatnot. But what are your thoughts throughout this process? Like, is there continuous flow? Is this something that your hands due to muscle memory and due to your memory, of course, that you're putting together? Like, what does that end of it look like?
I would definitely say it's mindless for me. Like, not that I'm not present, but that I do find that like moment of zen where I'm clear, I don't have to think about anything, and I'm just working. The hardest part of every basket is literally the very beginning and the very end. So all of those steps in the middle are just, like I said, like making the rows, you know, in and out, just flowing, basically.
What makes the beginning and the end the hardest part?
Like almost everything in life. If you don't have a good start, if you don't set up yourself up for success, it's going to be hard. And so a lot of basket weavers will actually use like a mold almost so that they all turn out exactly the same. I don't do that. I like to let every single basket kind of take its own shape. Some have different shapes, some are more bulbous, some are really straight, some are extra tall, like all of a sudden I forgot to stop and you know they're really tall. So it's really all about setting yourself up and just making sure that you've got where you want and you know where you're going.
Is the weave pattern dictated by the product you're making or by the creator?
It's the same every time. It's in and out, up and down. It's like weaving a blanket, weaving a quilt, or weaving like a rug or something. It's all the same. It's up and down, in and out. Weaving paper, even.
So have you ever started out weaving one thing and it became something else?
Yes. I have also definitely started weaving and been like, I am done with this. I've been fighting this. Today is not my day. I need to stop right now. And I will just call it a day. Like if I can't get through one, or if maybe my mindset's not right, or I'm just like, what's happening? This is not working for me today. I will just call it a day. I'm done. Just bag it up. Come back another day.
Because how many times do we force something that's not working, or how many times do we like throw more time and throw more energy at it, and when we really need to step back and just let it go for a moment? So I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of all the creative process. Sometimes you just gotta let go. You know,
Yeah.
my husband is also an artist. He's a painter, and I can see when he's lost his creative streak because I laugh at him. I'll be like, you started squiggling. You're just filling space with these squiggle lines. I'm like, you got to step away, got to step back. You've lost it. You've lost your vein, your creative flow. So just take a break. And I do the same.
Both of you guys are creatives, though, which is awesome. What are some of the triggers that signal to you that, okay, I'm about to hit the point where I need to back off?
Probably just like annoyance. All of a sudden, I'm just like, I'm annoyed with this. And it's probably because I have something else going on in my brain. You know, I'm probably getting infiltrated by something, and it's not giving my craft a good vibe. So I'm just like, maybe I got to stop, back away, and I'm okay with that. I think it's really important to know when you either need to take a break or need to stop, or just say, this is it. This today. Some days it's just a bad day for baskets. You just gotta recognize it and walk away.
Rather than continue to repress or push through,
Some people do like to do that. I don't. I'm just like, let it go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Concerning, the projects that you work on, what shapes your day, or I don't think you allow your creation to reveal when it's done because we just covered that. So how do you structure your time regarding the projects, and how do you allow it to shape your day?
I would say that it depends on deadlines or what I have to get done. If I need to like put my head down and I know that I need to make 3 or 4 baskets in a day, like I said, I cut it out, I place them out, and I just do it. I, I mean, I said that I'll walk away if I'm not having a good day. That does not happen often. Like I'm literally thinking of maybe once or twice in my brain that has happened where I've been like, I've got to get away from this. Usually, like I said, it's a point of zen, and I just get in there and I just do the work. I enjoy doing the work. I enjoy working with my hands. So to set it up, even if I have a deadline, it's just like you just set it up. You can only do what you can do. So just set it up. And like I said, as long as you've got your stuff organized and you're ready to go, you're good to go.
Yeah. And it sounds like this work is fulfilling in itself. So,
Yeah, it is. And it's I think it's like with everything in life, if you set yourself up for success, you'll be successful. It's about taking those steps though to prep yourself. A lot of artists struggle with the fact that they don't like the setup and they don't like the cleanup. They only like the creation part. It's important to make sure that you're not separating those things. The prep is part of the creating. The cleanup is also part of the creating. So make sure that you're embodying it instead of separating it into those things.
yeah, the end to end.
Yeah.
Is part of the process. I ran across a passage in a book, and I don't remember, it was a while ago, but it was discussing having a habit of completion and how the tendency nowadays is to leave things unfinished, and how leaving things unfinished carries over, bleeds over into other areas of our lives, and we don't even realize it. And some of that can be directly attributed to now we want to parse out things without realizing that it's a complete project.
It's a complete project.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is no longer important. It's like, hello, you're not done yet.
It's not done until
Yeah.
the cleanup has happened. You have to, and I said that about hiking before. Like, you have to find joy in all aspects of it, or you're going to lose interest in it. If I don't find a little bit of joy in the prepping to weave the baskets, I'm missing out on something along the way. If I don't find a little bit of joy or satisfaction in like cleaning up my space when I'm done, that's another portion that I'm just missing out on just a little bit. So you just have to like embody the whole thing.
Do you find that even the cleanup part of it frees space mentally and helps you better prepare for the next project?
Honestly, like I said, I'm a Virgo. So like in the end, like having a disaster and then cleaning it up and knowing that the next day when I walk in here, it's gonna be brand new again. I mean, that is satisfying to me.
Yeah,
Extremely.
yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah, totally.
When did you begin to value your own work, your own creations? Because oftentimes we look at whoever the greats are in any category, and we assigned more value to work that's already done than to ours. So, what did that look like for you?
Honestly, my husband is incredible support system. And when we met, I was like, I make baskets. And he was like, that's cool. And then I started weaving baskets, and it was really him. And he was like, these are amazing. He was like, why aren't you putting these out there? Like, you should be putting these out there. And so, I don't know. I think that it's important to have that support system. And you need to have someone recognize that, it's, or I think that I need that validation. I do validate a lot of people with their own art. So sometimes you just need some outside voice that's like, this is worth it. You're good at this. This is beautiful. And my husband is so good at that. He's the bomb.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All the way around, to say that about each other, to not have a relationship where two artists are competing with each other, because,
No.
that can be a nightmare. Hey, how many
For
times have we heard about that, though? You know, and particularly when one is either more successful or greater, two different skills, and they're competing for resources, which should not be, because that's not what creativity is, though.
No, in the end, it's hopefully we're sharing it with everyone we can,
Yeah.
and if we continue to lift each other up, we're all going to rise above.
Oh, yeah. Family
Yeah.
wise and otherwise. Yeah. Many blessings to you and your relationship. We touched on it briefly, but now I'm going to ask the question that people probably expect me to ask, which is, can you speak to the starving artist stereotype?
It's true. Honestly, I think that artists have a very hard time with self-promotion. And if you're going to be successful in art, where you actually like need to make money, it's not just to zen out, it's not just for your self-care. You actually need to have some income from that. You're running your own business. You are your own marketing department. You're your own social media person. You're your own you're even shipping department. You're every single aspect of that. And honestly, unless you are able to do that, or unless you're able to lean on other people to help you do that and know your strengths and know your limitations, it's hard. It's going to be hard. So, yeah, I mean, the other thing is too, is I think that artists or creatives, a lot of us are so good at getting down and doing the work to say, I did this. Look, I did this. It's really uncomfortable. It's not, I'm uncomfortable doing it. I mean, even when I'm not on stage, or if I'm just like at a market and somebody's just asking me about it, I will turn bright red. I will start sweating. And I just feel like, you know, I love it and I want other people to love it, but then I feel like a salesperson and, that's not who I am. So, it's just that battle to like put yourself out there and say, I did this and it's good.
Let me clarify what you're saying, because earlier the myth that you busted was that art is hard. And so you're not saying that art in itself is hard or that the artists have to starve. You're saying that starving artists stereotype has more to do with the artist not embracing the other tasks that need to go along with that, more so than people actually not valuing art itself.
Right. I think that creating the art is not hard. Um, but promoting yourself, self-promotion, I think is very hard. And like I
Are introverts?
Yeah, definitely. And especially when it comes to something like for me, I make something, that's meant to be used. You know, I can say, you put your kid in this, go for a hike. You can put your groceries in this. But for somebody who's maybe making a portrait or painting or doing abstract art, you're just like, you can hang it on your wall. You know, that's hard because you're being judged for like what you created from your heart and from your mind, you know? And I think that unless you have the power to be able to say like, it's good, I did this and you want it. I think that's
To
something
create
that,
a story around it.
yeah, it's hard. And I do think that's hard.
You mentioned aesthetic art and then the functional, and that the baskets that you make are meant to last forever, basically. So use them hard, love them hard. What about though for those who may be thinking, because once upon a time, like when we were growing up, that's what we looked for. You know, we looked for quality pieces. It was nothing, it was not out the ordinary for someone to have even their great great grandparents' furniture because it was well made. And that's
Right.
what the expectation was. But now we're in a society where consumerism is high. And
Mhm.
so for people in particular who are into, who do create like yourself, functional products that you can love hard that will definitely last, how do you address that issue? Because you won't repeat buyers, but you also want quality of product. So what's that triple constraint that you face?
I think that when it comes to like specifically my baskets, I do have people that are return buyers, but normally they're return buyers because they've loved it so much because they're buying it as a gift for somebody else. Or somebody's like, oh, I have this huge basket, but I want a smaller basket. So I would say at the most, somebody buys maybe two of my baskets for themselves. But also, like, isn't that amazing? I bought something that's literally going to be with this person for their life, and then maybe they'll pass it down. I think that there is a trouble that comes with because the wasteful consumerism that we're in right now. I think that when I say the baskets cost $200, you know, people are like, whoa, 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 I can get a basket at IKEA for like $60. And, you know, that's a battle because
Fine too.
right. But people don't see the value in it. All of a sudden they're like, whoa, it's $200 per basket. That's crazy. So like having to like almost justify your craft and say like, well, I made this with my two hands. It started with reeds and water. I think that it's trying to explain the value sometimes that gets really frustrating with that.
Or even
Yeah.
have to, because when you say handmade, that's the value. That's the value automatically. Everything else on top of that is icing on a cake.
It should be. And you know, a lot of times I just want to say, like, you walked all the way over here because you loved this basket. You know, like that's why you were drawn to this. So there's some value in that too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, you should
Yeah.
say that. Heck yeah. Yeah. Why did you let them sell themselves and realize what drew them? You walked
Yeah.
all the way over here to me, not to this other stand. So you tell me why it's worth $200. You
Yeah,
know, and
exactly.
what your other friends or anybody who visits your home or sees it, what they'll think. But I think
Yeah.
it's also amazing because it just goes to show that there are the customers that we have that firsthand experience with, but there also may be a secondary, you know, customer market, which is, you know, the people who buy your baskets as gifts for their family, friends, or, you know, whoever. So, you know, that's like a
Yeah.
built secondary, you know, market. So that's awesome.
It is. It is. And you know, I just started doing some classes too. Like I've taught my own like first class and you know, I have to kind of preface this with this is not a drink wine and, you know, paint a picture. Like we are going to be doing work for like 5 hours for you to weave this basket. So yeah, it's also like explaining that. Like if you want to take one of my classes, fine, but it's going to be really hyper focused on actually creating something that you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think Fifth and whatever has become like HGTV for art. So
I know. I know. My mom was like, "Oh, I'll let some friends come over. We'll drink some wine and weave baskets." I was like, "No, that is not what we're doing."
it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work.
No.
Is there anything that you hand off or that you delegate so that it stays enjoyable for you?
So like I said, the beginning is the most frustrating part and the end.
Yeah.
If I get frustrated at the beginning and I'm just like, this is not working, like maybe I've woven like this much and it's just like a struggle. It's just been a struggle the entire time. I'm done. I just walk away from that.
Okay.
But if it happens at the end and I'm just like, this has not been enjoyable, I want to stop right this second. Sometimes you just got to finish that basket, you know? Sometimes you do have to power through. It's this tall, and it's just the end I have to put on. Then I just got to do it.
But at least it's just that little, so yeah.
My job will be when it's done, and I'm going to be like, somebody's got to take that basket out of my life. I'm done with that one.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So what's one thing that you wish people knew about your craft?
I guess it would be like reminding people that this started off as, I mean, it started off as a tree at one point, like these, this was once a tree and, it's been through hands in order to get it into the reeds, which is in order so that I can weave it. And this is something that we've been using baskets since we first started walking the planet, the earth. And there's a reason for it. They last. They're meant to last. They're meant to be used. And, I just think people need to do that. Use them. Don't always throw stuff away. Use this for the rest of your life to go to the market, to go to the farmer's market, to go to the beach.
Yeah.
And it takes time. I want people to know and remember that, this is a skill that I have been working on for 20 years. So no, it's not a sip and weave if I'm teaching a class. And it's not cheap, this is something that I have been crafting for 20 years. And, enjoy it. And I want you to enjoy it, but I want you to use it, Yeah.
An appreciation for the art as well as the process and the skill that went into it.
Yeah, I think that everyone forgets that, if you really like a piece of art or like some pottery or something, that's somebody that did take the time to learn how to do that and spent time learning this craft. I think it's important for all forms of art,
Who do you create for?
I create for me, but I also create for my kids. I create for my husband. I create for everyone. I think it's important to remind people, like, in the end, that, I didn't start making baskets until I took that one class. I didn't know I could start weaving baskets. I think it's important to just keep creating so that my kids see me using my hands so that, my friends' kids can see like a basket that like my kids, somebody's mom made. I think it reminds people of like where stuff came from originally. This is something that has been around forever. And I think it's important for especially our kids these days for, video games and forgetting to go outside. And I think it's important for them to remember that some of this stuff somebody made at some point, Hands have worked on this.
So we already know that you can make anything, but let's expand this a bit and say you can make anything. What would be your most ambitious weave project?
Honestly, these baskets are so particular to, wearing on your back like a backpack. I love making them for like wedding gifts, or somebody who's had a new baby, where I just know that this is going to be a part of their life. I just find that to be so incredible. I have my first pack that I've ever made from that one class I made that one time. And it's still the one that I use. I've never made myself another one because I never had to. So I think just creating for people and when they buy it and seeing their joy and knowing that they're going to have it forever is just, that's so satisfying. I can't imagine like reaching for any other star because that's it. That's the goal.
That's awesome. You'll have to send us a picture of your first one. That is fabulous. Because how many people can say that? I have the first whatever it was that I made.
Yeah,
That is fabulous. Make sure you send us a photo of that. We'd love to see it.
It's traveled the country with me many, many times.
Wow, awesome. So, how can our viewers and listeners reach you? And do you accept commissions?
I do. People call and ask. The problem with the baskets is usually they're expensive to ship. So if you want one, expect to pay a lot of shipping. But the best way to reach me is through Instagram, which is by_K Wilson. Otherwise, my website. I would say that Instagram is probably the most effective way. It's the way I reach most people.
And your Instagram handle once again?
By_K Wilson.
Good, good. Last question.
Yes.
What does creativity mean to you?
Basically, it's everything. I think that it's imperative to our survival. I think it's imperative to our joy. I think that we have forgotten how to be creative, and I think that it's very important for us to kind of like reconnect with that. Creativity, like I said, it's in all of us. We've all forgotten to make that time for us. And I think that it's important to remember to give that gift to ourselves. So, yeah.
And it is definitely a gift.
It really is. I follow this author. His name is James Victore, and he has a quote that is, "Your work is a gift." And I think that people forget that. When you're a kid and you're able to create something, parents say, "Oh my God, you're gifted. Look at him, he's gifted." And I think that it's important to remember that your work is a gift, and it's a gift to yourself and to everyone around you.
Thank you, Kelley,
Thank you so much.
being with us today.
Thank you. This has been a joy. It's so exciting for me to be able to speak with other creatives and, encourage people to just do it. Just get out there and do it for yourself.
Yeah, because we owe that much to ourselves. So, yes.
We owe it.
So, we hope that you have definitely enjoyed today's episode, that you are able to better explore your own creativity in new ways and find applications for your creativity in other areas of your life as well. I am Chris Vaughn. This is In Her Company.